Hello and welcome once again to Breakfast All Day. I'm Christy, and that is Matt, and that is Alonso. And now it's time for us to talk about Scoob! Exclamation point. Because it's very exciting. Jinkies, it gets punctuation. This is a Scooby-Doo origin story of sorts. Alonso will tell you more and more about this extremely complicated plot.
It's an origin story, and it's a superhero movie, and it's a universe building movie. Like it's all the things you don't like in franchises wrapped up into one. We open on a young Shaggy who is alone and friendless until one day he runs into a stray dog whom he names Scooby-Dooby-Doo. That Halloween, they cross paths with three other kids and unmask a ghost in a haunted house. And wouldn't you know it, of course, it's the whole Mystery Machine gang. Cut to years later, they're trying to... Say what?
Sorry, the wind is blowing my umbrella around.
Matt's umbrella is floating in and out of the frame.
Yes, it's hypnotic. Anyway, so, it's the thing where there's an argument and they split up and then they have to get back together, and there's a larger conspiracy going on, and it all involves Blue Falcon and Dyno-Mutt, but not the ones you're used to, because now Dyno-Mutt is the smart one and Blue Falcon is the idiot. And it's all a part of a much larger, what is obviously an attempt to turn the Hanna-Barbera universe into the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Tons of Easter eggs and jokey references and, sideline, things about Laugh Olympics or whatever. So, it's got a lot going on. And yet at the same time, it feels like it's almost endless. So I was intermittently entertained, but it's very shrill and frantic and overdone. And, they've got a bunch of celebrities doing the voices now for little reason, because they've always had good cartoon voices doing cartoons for these.
Although Frank Welker, who for a long time was Fred, is now Scooby.
He is indeed. He's been Scooby for a while, apparently. But so Optimus Prime is Scooby. That's the kind of universe we're dealing with here.
He's also Curious George and Nibbler.
Frank Welker is
he's Megatron.
Oh, sorry.
He's Megatron. Sorry. But he's also Curious George and he's Nibbler.
What's a Nibbler?
He's Nibbler from Futurama.
Yeah, Frank Welker's been doing voiceover work for decades.
He's legendary.
Right.
He is. But, so now like Zac Efron and Will Forte and folks like that are kind of breezing in. I don't know. I'm of the old, give me June Foray and Billy West school of animation voices. Celebrities, I don't know that they always necessarily bring that much to the table. This movie's a lot of things, and I wish it trusted itself to not be so noisy and frantic and just bananas. Like, I think, you can entertain kids without just constantly bombarding them with sensation, but this movie never stops long enough to breathe.
Well, in the beginning, it's really cute. Right? When Scooby and Shaggy are young, when Scooby's a puppy and they meet each other on Venice Beach, like the tone of the first 15 minutes or so, when they first find each other, they're both lonely, they're both friendless, and it's very heartwarming. And when they meet up with Velma and Daphne and Fred, that's kind of cute too. What Velma is wearing as her Halloween costume is very clever.
Yes.
And what they say to each other as they go into their first spooky mystery, like, promise me we're never going to go into a dark, creepy house again. Like there's some kind of cute stuff in the beginning, but when they get older and when the actual adventure kicks in, it just gets bogged down in plot. And there's so much going on, and it's really convoluted for what is a pretty simple, long-running Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo was never drowning in plot during the show.
It's a bunch of kids who solve mysteries, and it's always some guy that they already know wearing a mask, and he wouldn't have got away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids. It's pretty simple, but this story is so needlessly complicated. And several times I watched it with Nick, I'm like, what is going on here right now? Like, I was totally lost with the various doodads and the gadgets and who wants what from whom. I mean, basically, Dick Dastardly.
Yes. Not Dirk Diggler. That's
So
what you almost
close.
said.
Although Mark Wahlberg is in this.
That's true. He is.
Mark Wahlberg is Blue Falcon, but
Who seems to be doing a Ryan Reynolds impression in this movie.
I don't know what he's doing, but
He
Dick
sounded a
Dastardly
lot
once-
like Reynolds as Deadpool.
Oh, okay. I don't think he's me. I don't think he's that snarky or intelligent
Or
even.
focused.
I don't know, right? But Dick Dastardly wants to unleash Cerberus and unlock the underworld. And like, why? I mean, what I said in my review for RogerEbert.com, right? Yeah, but
Also,
I was
Sorry,
going to say, if this like sparks in your kids a vague interest in Greek mythology, like maybe that's the good takeaway from this.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where like he's chasing down the 3 skulls because that's supposed to open the door, but then it turns out no, this other thing is going to open the door. It's like, well, then what were the skulls for? What was the point of that? You know.
And then there's a big character sacrifice that gets overwhelmed and redone in such lazy, like head spinning fashion.
Yeah. It's frustrating because I'm a fan of the OG Scooby, even the the new Scooby-Doo movies where like Phyllis Diller or Batman and Robin would show up, but this is just it just smacks of this isn't a movie, this is IP. Like we own this thing and we want to turn this thing into another thing and we want to sell the book bag and the shoes that go with this thing. So here's this thing.
I didn't hate this the way you guys do. I was mildly amused.
I laughed occasionally.
In spite of what are clearly like obnoxious studio directives and notes all over this movie. There's occasional bits of, some real wit, some real laughs. I think Jason Isaacs as Dick Dastardly is literally twirling a mustache, is hilarious in this. I think that, the rest of the gang, like they're pretty solid. I think, Will Forte makes a decent Shaggy, vocally at least. I didn't mind this movie. I didn't like, not that I'm any kind of Scooby-Doo purist, because I wasn't really that big a fan of the cartoons when I was younger. I don't think it necessarily serves what some of the appeal of that show and those characters are by doing something that's actually supernatural, right? Over and over again, like there's nothing actually magical happening in those old shows. It's all just like some asshole in a mask, right? and this one is like, oh no, there's real shit going down here, which I think is a mistake. I think it actually makes the stakes like, yes, I'm talking about a world where like, yeah, we got, talking dogs, but
a talking dog who speaks in complete sentences and whom everyone can understand, which I also was annoyed by. And then, and also, but I think to your point about the supernatural, which you're right, is not a thing they do with this, to put them in a superhero story in this way. It was one thing when it was like, again, like those dumb Scooby-Doo movies with Batman and Robin, but when they're like flying around in spaceships and putting on like costumes,
yeah.
it's like, no.
It's too much stuff going on simultaneously.
Listen, it could be worse. It's not like it's Gilligan's Planet. Remember that one?
Yes.
No,
I laughed more at this than I did at Wrong Missy, if that makes you feel any better.
Oh, I did too. I did.
Yeah.
A couple of the self-referential bits are kind of amusing. Although there's one celebrity cameo in this that is very strange.
Yeah.
Oh no,
random.
I thought that celebrity cameo was just fine, right? The way you would get like, back in the day when you have like Mama Cass team up with her. Like.
Is that what you think the origin of it is to pay homage to that?
A little bit.
I hope so, because otherwise it was like, this is who we could guess.
Right. No, I was fine with this. I thought this was kind of, minor. Some of the voice casting for some of the characters that you would otherwise know is a little weird.
I thought Zac Efron was a perfectly cast Fred, though.
Right.
That was good.
I think the gang is good. I think, when you get to like, the kind of Mesozoic era, like that casting's a little odd. Right. There's some other, but in spite of, I guess my thought is like, in spite of the studio really screwing this up and really trying to turn this into the beginning of some shared universe, this is a damn sight better than what they were doing with the Zack Snyder movies. I would more readily watch another movie set in this universe than I would kind of that DCEU, aside from, say, Wonder Woman.
Or Shazam.
Or Shazam. All right, sure.
But no, the Snyder version of that. I agree with you. I would rather see where this goes than the Snyder version of it. But I think that this is just like Dave wasn't watching this with me. He was just sort of like kind of walking through the room. He goes, I'm not even sitting down to watch this, and I can tell it's the kind of kids movie I hate because it is so noisy and frantic, and things are just like there's not a second to breathe or of silence or whatever. And so, yeah, I just wish they had trusted the material more and not just for 90
I don't
minutes.
disagree.
But I can respond to that, having watched it with a kid of my own who theoretically is the target for that kind of frantic, colorful, noisy energy. And Nick knows Scooby-Doo. Nick has played that Scooby-Doo video game where the joystick is shaped like the Mystery Machine. Have you guys seen that?
No.
It's like Scooby-Doo and the Mystery of the Castle, and you drive the Mystery Machine and you pick up bones, and those are kind of like currency, and you got to like walk down different corridors and get different keys. It's very like 8-bit and old looking.
Okay.
So Nick has played that. Nick knows Scooby-Doo. He turns to me about halfway through, totally unprompted. I did not ask his opinion. And he goes, honestly, I liked them better when they were younger. So he liked the sweet early part too, and he didn't like this frantic stuff that Dave also found annoying.
Well, Nick has sophisticated
He's your target
taste.
audience. You what?
Nick has more sophisticated tastes in movies than I think.
He does. I've done a really good job in that one regard as a parent. I've screwed everything else up probably, but that I gave him good taste. Or I encouraged, fostered good taste in him.
There we go.
But he didn't like it either. Anyway, it's not good. I'm really curious to see how it does vis-a-vis Trolls World Tour, because with this, you can either rent it for $19.99 for a 48-hour window, or you can buy it outright for $24.99. So I wonder if families are going to do that because it's more economical than like just ponying up, $20 every time because your kids want to see it again.
Oh, wasn't there just some lawsuit about how people were buying movies on Amazon, and then it turns out they weren't really owning them forever? Like if the copyright changed or whatever, that they could just disappear out of your inbox.
Welcome to owning things on the cloud.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm always pushing physical media.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, physical Scoob.
There you go.
Anyway, I'm saying 3.
It's
not that bad. Come on.
I said 5. I did laugh some, and I admire. I'm not even averse to the idea of a Hanna-Barbera shared universe, because really that's what like Yogi's Ark and Laugh Olympics were. So you could certainly moosh these characters together, but it's just not this way, please.
I was a Looney Tunes kid. I hated the Scooby-Doo cartoons when I was a kid.
Why?
Because they sucked. They're not good.
You didn't like them running in front of the same painting base and door over and over again?
And look, let's be honest. Looney Tunes animation doesn't hold a candle to, say, the Disney stuff from the same era. Yeah. But when, as a kid, you can look at Hanna-Barbera cartoons and be like, oh, this animation stinks. The only thing that I liked about Hanna-Barbera, they had this killer theme music for like the Jetsons and Flintstones. Like that was rockin' music.
Tom and Jerry.
Isn't
that Hanna-Barbera?
Later, yeah.
That was Hanna and Barbera when they worked for MGM.
Oh.
Right, but then they got a hold of it. That's all. Anyway, let's not go down.
I have gone down a road I should have gone down.
I actually kind of enjoy this. I'm giving it a 6.
All right, our number's at 4.7. Scoob! That's what's happening.
Now that's a good cartoon.
The Schoolhouse Rock cartoons.
Yeah,
those are the
Verb. And then there's that great cover that Moby did.
There was the Schoolhouse Rocks album that came out in the 90s.
I have it. It's awesome.
Had some bops on it. All right, thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, where we recap shows like Hulu's Mrs. America and do tons of exclusive stuff just for our supporters. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.